You've probably typed this sentence into a search bar at 2 a.m. Who actually owns the internet? And the answer you got back was probably something like, no one owns it. It's decentralized. It belongs to everyone. That answer feels good. It sounds democratic, free, untouchable. It's also not quite true. Because when you actually trace where your data goes, the cable it travels through, the server that stores it, the company that decides whether your post gets seen, you find something surprising. The internet isn't controlled by one shadowy figure in a dark room. That part of the theory is fiction. But it is controlled. Just by more boring, more traceable, more ownable things than you'd expect. Let's follow the wire. Here's the myth, stated plainly. The internet is a wild, ownerless commons, a digital public square that belongs to everybody and answers to nobody. It's a comforting idea. It's also a marketing idea. Early internet culture sold itself that way on purpose. Open protocols, free software, information wants to be free. But no one owns the internet is a sentence about culture. It is not a sentence about infrastructure. Culture is decentralized. Infrastructure is not. And infrastructure is where the actual power lives. So let's talk about 3 layers of infrastructure most people never think about. The naming layer, the physical layer, and the cloud layer. Forget the cloud. Think of the internet like a city. Every city needs an address system, so mail gets to the right house. It needs pipes under the ground, so water actually reaches your tap. And it needs landlords who own the buildings everybody rents space in. The internet has the exact same 3 things. An address system, the domain name system, DNS, pipes under the ground. Literal cables, mostly under the ocean. Landlords, the handful of companies that rent you the servers your favorite apps run on. Addresses, pipes, landlords. You don't need a conspiracy to explain who has power in a city. You just need to ask, who owns the pipes and who owns the buildings? Same question, same answer here. Every time you type a web address, your computer asks a system of just 13 root server identities where to find it. Not 13 buildings, 13 addresses, run by 12 organizations, physically mirrored across hundreds of server locations worldwide. 9 of those 12 operators are American organizations, including 3 U.S. government bodies. 1 is Swedish, 1 is Japanese, 1 is Dutch. The nonprofit that coordinates all of it, ICANN, used to answer directly to the U.S. Department of Commerce. That changed in 2016, when oversight was formally handed off to the global internet community instead of one government. So, is there a secret puppet master controlling web addresses? No. But is the address book of the entire internet run by a small, mostly Western cluster of organizations most users have never heard of? Also, yes. That's layer 1. Now the part almost nobody thinks about, how your data actually crosses an ocean. Here's a fact that surprises almost everyone. Your data does not travel by satellite. It travels through physical glass fiber cables lying on the ocean floor, thinner than a garden hose. More than 95% of all intercontinental internet traffic, video calls, bank transfers, this very video if you're watching it internationally, moves through these cables. For most of the internet's history, these cables were built and owned by consortiums of national telecom companies. That's changed dramatically in the last decade. Today, Google holds an ownership stake in around 30-plus subsea cable systems. Meta owns pieces of roughly 20. Microsoft and Amazon share about 10 more between them. Together, those 4 companies now own or lease something in the range of half to 70% of the world's undersea bandwidth, depending on which year and which analysis you look at. Either way, 4 American companies, controlling the majority of the physical wires the entire planet's internet runs through. Meta alone is building a single cable, Project Waterworth, over 50,000 kilometers long, deliberately routed to avoid unstable regions like the Red Sea and South China Sea. That's more than the circumference of the Earth laid by one company for one company's traffic. The internet has a landlord. It's 4 of them. This isn't a rumor. It's public infrastructure data, tracked openly by firms like TeleGeography, who monitor global cable ownership for a living. So the address book is concentrated. The pipes are concentrated. What about where your data actually lives? The servers. As of 2026, roughly 2/3 of the entire world's cloud computing infrastructure runs through exactly 3 companies: Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud.
AWS alone holds around 30% of the global market. Add Azure and Google Cloud, and you're at roughly 68 to 70% of the entire planet's cloud infrastructure, sitting inside 3 companies' data centers. When an app goes down, it's rarely the whole internet failing. It's usually one of these three having a bad day. Three companies, 2/3 of the cloud. Address book, pipes, buildings, 3 layers. A small number of hands on each one. Here's where the theory stops being abstract. If a small number of entities control the pipes and the address book, then a small number of entities can also turn them off. In 2025 alone, researchers at Access Now's #KeepItOn coalition documented 313 deliberate government internet shutdowns across 52 countries, a new global record, up from 304 the year before and 289 the year before that. Myanmar experienced a record 95 shutdowns in a single year. India led the world in total shutdown orders for the 7th year running. And increasingly, governments aren't cutting the whole internet. They're targeting specific apps. 94 platform-specific blackouts hit services like WhatsApp, Instagram, and TikTok in 2025 alone. The total estimated economic cost of these shutdowns in 2025, nearly $20 billion. The off switch is real. It just belongs to governments, not ghosts. This is the part conspiracy theories usually get half right and half wrong. There's no single global off switch, but there are dozens of national ones, and in 2025 they got used more than any year on record. So, is someone controlling the internet? Not one someone, not a hidden council, not a secret handshake in a basement somewhere. What actually controls the internet is a short list of traceable public ordinary things, a naming system run by a small international group, physical cables increasingly owned by 4 tech companies, cloud infrastructure concentrated in 3 of them, and legal authority to shut connections off that still belongs to individual governments. Not a conspiracy, a concentration. That distinction matters. A conspiracy is hidden and requires a leak to expose it. A concentration is public. It's sitting in shareholder reports, subsea cable databases, and NGO shutdown trackers, waiting for anyone curious enough to go look. The scary version of this story says, they're watching you and you'll never know who they are. The true version is almost scarier in a different way. You can know exactly who they are. Most people just never ask. So next time your feed goes quiet, or a site goes down, or a country vanishes from the news because its internet got switched off, you'll know it's not magic and it's not one villain. It's pipes, it's landlords, it's an address book. Owned by fewer hands than you'd like, but not hidden hands. And understanding where the power actually sits. That's the first step to asking better questions about who should be holding it.
Thanks for watching. You can watch our latest uploads. Want more of us? Don't forget to like and subscribe.